Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's NMeade here, back for another month of world records to review. I must first off apologize if my commentary for this video sounds off in any way. I have been sick for the past week, unfortunately, and I'm still quite congested with a sore throat, and the more I talk, the more it kind of exacerbates the problem, so I do apologize. But I will do my best in this video. With that out of the way, let's move on to reviewing all of the world records set for the month of September 2019. 12 world records in total, and guys, I have to tell you, this is one of the most exciting months this year to review, and I hope you're all as excited as I am. Let's get started. Starting off, as always, we're picking up where we left off last month, where we had quite a bit more activity for Grumble Volcano glitch. Ross kicks off the month improving upon his own world record by 144 milliseconds with a time of 17.317 on September 6th. In comparison to his previous world record, he had a cleaner ending to lap 3, which is where most of his time save came from. And about 1 week later, EJ would reclaim the world record from Ross by 217 milliseconds with a time of 17.100 on September 13th. EJ lost quite a substantial amount of time being stuck to the rock in lap 1, but swiftly cranked out a very fast lap 2 and 3 to reclaim the world record. And roughly another week passes, and we have our very first sub 17 second time on Grumble Volcano glitch. EJ clutched out an improvement of 248 milliseconds with a time of 16.852 on September 19th. Although he had a comparable wall hit at the end of the task entry on lap 1 with his previous world record, he regained his momentum and had a better lap 1 by over 0.3 compared to his previous run, and kept the same pace on laps 2 and 3 to grant him the very first sub 17 second time on Grumble Volcano. Congratulations to both EJ and Ross for their respective improvements. 4 days later, on September 23rd, we saw something that does not happen too often. Japanese player Niyaki remains as the player with the longest duration of world record reign on this track, with a cumulative reign of all of his world records clocked in at over 3,400 days. King Alex reclaimed the world record from Niyaki close to 1 year ago now, on October 17, 2018. And Niyaki never managed to reclaim the world record. Then, the first world record to use the Quacker strategy was accomplished on February 15, 2019 earlier this year by Joshua. Since Joshua's world record, the world record has been improved by an astonishing 1 second, 622 milliseconds over the course of 7 months, which is quite a huge time save considering the track is now under 17 seconds long for all 3 laps. Fascinating enough, Niyaki has been making attempts on Grumble Volcano nearly this entire time, uploading fails to his Twitter periodically. His first completed Quacker time was at 18.465, posted to his Twitter on May 29th, 2019. Though he had not met the mark to reclaim the world record during most of this time, he was still pumping out world-class runs on the track. Niyaki would set a time of 17.230 on September 20th, slotting him in back at second worldwide, 130 milliseconds behind EJ's new run set only 1 day prior. Also notable, on September 20th, he uploaded a run that could have theoretically been a 16.3 time, but he barely failed to hit the lap trigger entering lap 3. 3 days later, Niyaki would reclaim Grumble Volcano glitch with utilizing the Quacker strategy for his first time, improving the world record by 161 milliseconds with a time of 16.691 on September 23rd. But that wasn't the end. Niyaki would set 2 more world records on the same day, guys, September 23rd. About 4 hours later, Niyaki posted a second improvement, this time by exactly 100 milliseconds, with a time of 16.591. And 3 hours after this improvement, Niyaki dropped the record by over 200 milliseconds, with a finishing time of 16.385. Niaki's 3 improvements spanned over a 7-hour time frame per the Twitter timestamps when he posted his improvements, and ultimately improved the world record by almost half a second in one day. Now, of course, I do not speak or read any Japanese, but I utilize technology, guys, so good old handy Google Translate. I Google translated his messages on his Twitter with each post for all 3 of his improvements. On the very first run where he reclaimed the world record, Niaki commented, "Ha ha ha ha, I finally did it. Recaptured the world champion. Yeah. However, there is a possibility that the record will grow further, so I will do it. Next is aiming for 15 seconds. His second improvement had a very simple message of, second update today. And the last improvement he made had a very appropriate message of the following. I can't say anything, ha ha ha. After all, what is important is the feeling of enjoying. The reason why I was able to update it 3 times today is because I enjoyed TA. TA is the abbreviation for time attack or time trial. Absolutely amazing. Honestly, I really can't find the proper words to describe the magnitude of these improvements overall. But guys, I do want to say this. This large volume of world record activity on this track, especially with multiple different players trading hands, holding the world record themselves, is extremely rare and very, very uncommon in today's time trial landscape. And I really want to highlight that specifically. And I want to give a tremendous, huge shout out to Niaki, King Alex, Joshua, Shane, Fizz, EJ, and Ross. All of you with your improvements throughout almost a year's time now has been such an amazing ride and entertaining to watch as someone like myself who is a very pure fan of time trial as it is. Everyone's improvements should be fully credited with a job well done. And I'm sure that we're going to see even more activity in the future on this track, especially from Niaki's encouraging words that his target is a 15-second time. And as bizarre of a time as that may be, even looking at a 16 or 17-second time is nuts for 3 laps on any track in this game. I think it's going to happen, guys, with all these players having the potential to do so. As of today's upload date, the current best known splits for this category give a time of 15.579. I greatly look forward to seeing what develops in the coming months here. Collectively, congrats to Ross, EJ, and Niaki for all of their respective improvements this month. Next up, we had 2 improvements on Mumma Meadows this month. Sosis starts off improving upon his own world record by 1 millisecond, but still a new world record nonetheless. He sets a new time of 1:15.620 on September 7th, and exactly 3 weeks later, on September 28th, Sosis had a larger improvement with an improvement of 27 milliseconds and the first sub 1:15.6 with 1:15.593. In his 1:15.620, Sosis had a monster of a lap 3 with a lap split of 25.086, which is only 9 milliseconds off of the current best known split of lap 3, which is a 25.077 by himself. And I rewatch these runs a lot when making these videos and even offline as well throughout the month. And the more I'm watching this over and over again, the more I can see that a sub 25-second time can definitely happen. And Sosis confirmed this himself, where he said a sub 25-second time will be possible on lap 3 specifically. Now, this time is getting optimized further and further, and I'd like to highlight 3 parts of this track which are the most pivotal for improvements at this point. One part that, in my opinion, is fairly overlooked is the chain wheelie entering laps 2 and 3. You can see the distance after rechaining your wheelie to when you initiate the drift is relatively short. However, getting or missing the chain clearly gives enough variance where any improvement here can be hinged on hitting this chain wheelie or not on both laps 2 and 3, or not at all, or 1 lap on and 1 lap off. You get the point. In general, the 2 other most pivotal parts of a great lap here is both the low jump and the last turn, which are both very, very frustrating in their own right. And at least to me, in my opinion, his newest world record at the end of this month is a more consistent representation of his great mastery in driving on the track, and it indicates to me that he could definitely pull off at least a 1:15.4 time here if he continues with his improvements. The best known splits add up to a time of 1:15.317 as of today's upload date, meaning Sosis is within less than 0.3 of the standard now, which is incredible. Great work, Sosis, and keep it up. Next up, quite an unexpected world record happened on Bowser's Castle shortcut category. Blaze improved upon his own world record by 233 milliseconds, with a time of 2:09.113 on September 8th. The most notable part of Blaze's new run is missing the flip trick before the cut on lap 1, which clearly lost a substantial amount of time, looking to be at least 200 milliseconds of time loss, at least by my estimation looking at the Ghost comparison here. This unfortunately seems to be the biggest mistake which hindered this run from being the first sub 2:09 time here for this category. However, Blaze does hit a new best known split on lap 3 of 42.793, which I think is always impressive to see a new best known split in a world record run. Blaze's overall activity has notably dipped down over the past year or so, it seems, and in his upload of this run he does comment that he has not been playing as much recently. It is still always a very pleasant surprise to see another improvement from Blaze, so congrats to you on your improvement and good luck for further improvements if you decide to play for longer. Time for unexpected world record number 2, folks! This time on Luigi Circuit, Cole improved his own world record by 5 milliseconds, with a time of 1:08.882 on September 21st. As always, it seems to be the trend with Cole as of the past years, where he will randomly post on Twitter a new world record improvement on an almost annual cycle at this point. And before getting into the run, what's notable as well is that this record moves Cole up to having set at least one world record per year for 11 separate years, only missing 2016. The only other player to reach this milestone is Tom, aka Sword, earlier this year in March. And funnily enough, both Cole and Sword have both missed setting one world record in 2016, but have set at least one world record per year in all the other years of the game being released. Now, as far as Cole's new run is concerned, comparing his previous world record to this one was pretty interesting to me. I'm still both incredibly happy and appreciative of this function within CTGP Revolution. Watching this back, you can see the implications set on different alignments into turns, hopping early or later for turns, releasing mini turbos, alignments into shrooms, execution of shrooms, and more. You get the point. What your impression is as the player actually doing the time trial racing, and when you compare your runs, you end up seeing that some things you thought lost a lot of time didn't lose much at all, or even the opposite, where things you thought you're doing a lot faster or more crisp and precise are end up losing time comparatively. Very small nuances such as different types of hops or drifts into turns or re-wheeling can pose unexpected time gains or time loss. And at this point, getting perfect chains and having flawless shroom execution are probably the most important areas I'd say for a time save or time loss here. And the funny little side note to mention is that Cole's lap 3 split actually ties his lap 2 and 3 split and his previous world record here, which I think is pretty cool. The current best known splits add up to a time of 1:08.735. Great work, Cole, and keep it up. As you guys might notice, this is the month of many unexpected world records. This time we're heading to Dry Ruins, where we had a major development here. Luke ended EmilP's massive monopoly on Dry Ruins on September 28th by improving the world record by 59 milliseconds with a time of 1:47.248. Man, where do I start with this one, fellas? Oh my gosh. Japanese player EmilP has had such a large monopoly on the Dry Ruins world record since early 2013. EmilP has not been defeated on Dry Ruins since his very first world record here, with a 1:47.910, which, by the way, was the very first sub 148 on this track as well, which was set over 6.5 years ago on February 19th, 2013. NMeade would set 12 world records from 2013 to 2018 on this track, and was never contested once. And his 147.498 world record stood uncontested for 1,420 days, and was ultimately improved by himself in 2018. NMeade's uncontested reign of Dry Ruins has lasted a mind-blowing 2,412 days. This becomes the 4th longest world record reign in the game's history, with coincidentally enough Naoki being the 3rd on Grumble Volcano by 3 more days with 2,415 days. Second being Totem on GCN Waluigi Stadium with 2,574 days, and Mr. Bean being number 1 with 2,772 days on Wario Skull Mining Glitch. Luke's new world record here is definitely one of the game's most iconic world records of recent time. Luke is more notably a precision track specialist and has not seriously ventured deep into more technique-heavy tracks like Dry Ruins in the past. And I asked Luke because I was curious as to what really drew him to play this track. And Luke stated, "I wanted something new because I rarely play tech-based tracks." And now what's even more impressive to me is that with this in mind, Luke brought in 3 new strategies never utilized in human time trials, but have been known for some years with tool-assisted speedruns. I'll start off with the smaller of the 3, which to my knowledge hasn't been used in a world record run yet, is at the beginning pulling a wheelie before the sand hop, which in this comparison here clearly shows it saves a decent amount of time, if pulled off the right way. And there's actually an even faster strategy not utilized yet, where you get 2 main turbos in this entire sequence, and I'm interested to see when that'll be implemented in the future. The second and the third kind of flow into each other in this giant sequence here, so the second one is a tomb exit for lap 1, which watching this being pulled off humanly is freaky. The best way I can describe this sequence is you're using the tomb terrain to your advantage to vastly reduce the airtime going out of the tomb, which flows into the third strategy utilized, which is a shroomless ending shortcut. By landing as late as possible after the flip trick, you bring as much of the remaining boost as possible to allow you to barely clear this little sand pit area, and also gaining a main turbo out to boot as well. And also to highlight, Luke does use the 0-2-1 shroom strategy, which NMeade has used in the past. And I can't really say with certainty which strategy is actually faster here from a technical standpoint, though I think it does have to do in part with the pokey placement on lap 2 on the bridge. If you have a monster of a lap 1, I think is probably completely blocking your way. But other than that, it may have to do with the amount of sand in the tomb on laps 2 and 3, where you can visibly see it fills up on each lap, making your maneuvering a bit more tedious on each lap as well. The best known splits with the 0-2-1 shroom strategy gives a time of 146.765, and the 2-1-0 shroom strategy gives a time of 146.918. Though with these new strategy implementations, maybe this can bring the 2-1-0 splits down if that strategy is used again. And to my knowledge, I don't think anyone has ever had contact with NMeade, and I don't think any Japanese players have necessarily had contact with him either. I don't think so. I could be wrong by saying that. Some of you guys in the comments could clarify for me if you know any different. It would be really cool, at least to me, to see NMeade come back and try and reclaim the world record with these new strategies, but I'm not really too hopeful, only because when he was beaten on Coconut Mall by Ace, he never came back to try and improve that. So I'm not really too sure if he's motivated to do so, if he's really even playing anymore, but we've seen stranger things happen in the game, so in the future, who knows what's going to happen here. But overall, very impressive stuff here, Luke. Congrats and good luck with further improvements. What an absolutely crazy month this has been so far, hasn't it, fellas? We aren't even done yet. We have the last world record to review for this month, this time on GCN DK Mountain no glitch, with an unexpected new strategy used on lap 3. Logan has a sizable cut to his previous world record, with an improvement of 184 milliseconds, with a time of 2:05.194 on September 29th to close out this month's activity. Logan was visibly trailing his run by a decent amount for the majority of lap 3, but then this happens. Now, from what I have heard, as well as what I can remember, this strategy has been known before, but it is clear enough to show the difficulty of pulling off the strategy. To me, this saves at least 400 to 500 milliseconds, if not more, depending on how epic of a clip you get and how tight your recovery drifts are afterward. This, of course smashes the previous best known split here, becoming the new best known split for lap 3. Long term, a 203 is very much plausible at this point, with a very cleanly executed run with this strategy masterfully all 3 laps. To break this down concisely, the reason this saves so much time is that you are not braking, hopping, getting markedly slower airtime to the lower part of the mountain, and slowly accelerating thereafter. Now, by using this strategy, you are actually releasing your main turbo boost, and you are manipulating that momentum to precisely clip the edge of the cliff, get shot downward very fast with that momentum, and have a very fast recovery. I've been rewatching this part several times, and even still, it looks very freaky and very bizarre as the first time watching this. And maybe in time, with more grinding of the strategy, a more consistent setup could be theorized and used to make pulling this off even once per run a more common occurrence for more improvements. Overall though, great work Logan, and keep it up. And with that, my fellas, with my congestion and all, we conclude another month of reviewing world records. I started this series on my old channel 1 year ago at the end of October 2018, and next month's video for the world record review of October 2019 will be officially 1 year of the series running. Honestly, it's made me incredibly happy to share my long-term passion and interest for time trials and world records in this way, and to see many of you as enthusiastic as I am. As always, it is a great help to both like the videos and subscribe if you haven't done so already, as it helps with the growth of the channel and encourages me to put more time into these videos and the channel as well. With 12 world records set in September 2019, the world record tally for 2019 officially ties all of the 2018 world records set, which was 114 in total. But we have 3 more full months to go, October, November, and December, guys. The mark to beat at the end of this year is 124 world records, which will make 2019 the most active year for world records since 2012. And I'm very sure we will blow by that mark very quickly. Congratulations as always to all the contenders for their respective improvements and their hard work. And as always, my fellas, I'll be seeing all of you guys next month, where we will review all of the world records set for October 2019. Take care.